The strongest powerlifter in a meet doesn't always win the meet. So that's why in this video, I want to talk about the nuances of powerlifting competition. From attempt selection, to sports psychology, to making the most of the referee's calls.
No. Wait.
Welcome to the final episode of the Path to Powerlifting series. Tip number 1, know your lot number. If you tie another lifter on total, well, then the lifter with the lighter body weight is gonna win. It's for this reason that lifters are weighed to the nearest 2 decimal points at international meets. So once all the lifters have weighed in and the openers are submitted, everything will be posted. Go and check your body weight to compare it to that of your competitors. So if you are lighter than one of your direct competitors within your weight class, you can tie their total and beat them. That's an important thing to know. And with that said, you might be asking yourself,
But Bryce, what happens if 2 lifters are the exact same weight?
well, that's where knowing your lot number comes into play. As mentioned in video 5, these numbers here are randomly assigned at weigh-in and dictate the order of weigh-in. But what we didn't mention is that lot number actually becomes very important in a couple of scenarios. Scenario number 1, a bodyweight tie. In the case of a bodyweight tie for lifters who have the same total as well, the victory is going to go to the lifter who hits the total first. Now, if you end up putting in the same attempt as a competitor, the lifter with the lower lot number goes first and potentially hits that total first. If your lot number is higher and you're tied on body weight, just know you must put up a higher total to win. Scenario number 2, competing for a record. In the case of attempting a record, you're able to put in the same attempt as someone else who is attempting that record, but the lifter with a lower lot number gets to take it first. If that lifter is successful, 0.5 kilos should automatically be added to the second lifter's record attempt. If this 0.5 is not added for whatever reason, even if the second lifter is successful, the first lifter, that lifter with the lower lot number, retains the record. Tip number 2, use the chips. No, not that kind. Let's say you're someone who's strong enough to break a record. When you're breaking a record, you can load the bar in increments of 0.5 kilos versus the usual 2.5 kilo increments. Your ability to do this, however, will depend on what meet you're attempting to break the record at. If you're breaking a provincial record, you can only use chips at a provincial meet or below. If you're breaking a regional record, you can use chips at a regional meet or below, etc., etc. You can't use chips to break a provincial or regional record, for example, at Worlds.
So why does that matter?
Because if you can increase your total by 0.5 kilos while in a head-to-head battle with another lifter who doesn't have access to the chips, they're gonna need to go up by 2.5 kilos to beat your 0.5 kilos. Here's an example. So lifter A takes a 288 kilo squat. It's a provincial record. After lifter A's second deadlift, they're looking to total 720.5 kilos. Lifter B is chasing lifter A and needs to beat lifter A's total to win. Lifter B can't just total 721 because unless they have access to the chip as well, they can't put in a 0.5 kilo increment and will need to go to 722.5 kilos. So this is a tactical advantage for the lifter who can break records. Tip number 3, set your priorities. Before you get to the meet, you need to know what's at stake and what's most important to you. If you have the potential for multiple big things, be it hitting a PR total or obtaining a qualifying total, you need to set some priorities about which of those matters the most to you. It's common to find ourselves in a situation where, for example, we need to put 10 kilos on a third deadlift attempt to hit a qualifying total, but you need a 15 kilo jump to catch or beat a competitor. Which of those 2 things is more important to you? Don't leave it until the last moment, literally the 1 minute that you have to put in your attempt, to make these decisions. Have these discussions ahead of time with your coach, your handler, or whoever else prior to meet day so that these calls are easier to make. If you do this sport for any amount of time, there will come a day where different goals will be at odds with one another. And understanding your top priority for meet day will give you a boatload of clarity. Tip number 4, get amped or don't. Maybe you've seen another lifter, myself or Bobby Butters is a good example, get absolutely riled up before a big lift. And you figure, oh damn, okay, I just need to get super psyched up and that'll make me lift better. Well, that could be a mistake. I like to refer to a model called individual zones of optimal functioning, or eyes off for short. This model proposes a sort of different strokes for different folks kind of way of thinking about arousal. Each athlete will have a zone where they function and perform best. Some lifters will want to be calm and in control heading into a big lift, while others will want to slam the ammonia and yell and scream. Others still will be maybe somewhere in between those two. Take inventory of this, experiment with it in training, and see what works for you. Try and take note of whether your best training and performances in the past have come from being super amped up or very cool, calm, and collected. Knowing this will allow you to mimic your ideal conditions on meet day and perform at your best. Tip number 5, referee scouting report. So let's say, for example, you know that your head referee is Dylan, and the pauses that Dylan requires on the bench before giving you the press command are an eternity. If you know that you have long pause Dill as your head referee, you might use that information and put in a slightly less aggressive bench opener. So if you know your referees and you know their tendencies, then you can make more informed decisions. Better yet, if you're in session 2 and the referees are the same for sessions 1 and 2, you can use the first session to actually scout the referees out. What this means is yourself or your coach or handler, whoever's helping you out, can go check out some of the calls during your warm-ups. That way you can get an idea for how the calls might go when you get to lifting in session 2. One final note about the referees. Generally, refs are all seated in similar positions for every competition. However, there can and will be slight positional differences based on the layout or size of the venue that's going to impact their view of things. If your side refs are more to the front versus back, for example, this can impact how your depth looks in a squat. Or if the referees aren't directly to the side on a bench, some lifters might get away with their butt coming up off the bench. That's all well and good, but let me be real with you for a second. The more important thing that you should definitely be making sure that you're doing is going to be tip number 6. Tip number 6, lift better. All right, now this tip may fly in the face of the last one a little bit, but that's okay. Don't leave it up to the referees to make the call. If you're a 2-to-1 lifter, you're playing with fire. As a 2-to-1 lifter, what's gonna happen is sometimes you're gonna get a gift and sometimes you're gonna get shit on. In either case, you gotta take it. Be critical in your training, review your footage, and surround yourself with people who are not gonna blow smoke up your ass. If, for example, you've been squatting high as Snoop Dogg for 12 weeks and your coach hasn't told you because they're afraid to hurt your feelings, well, maybe you should hire Taylor here. Taylor can be a bit of a hard ass. Like any of our CBB coaches, he's gonna tell it like it is. He'll call you out for overshooting if necessary. He'll program you hard training when you need it, and he'll help you become a better lifter. And that illustrates what you'll get if you work with myself or any of our other phenomenal Calgary Barbell coaches. This year, for example, marks Danny's 10th year of coaching powerlifting, and she's coached our Canadian national team at the world level multiple times. Derek is doing his PhD in exercise science and just did 4 bodybuilding shows just because, and damn near got his pro card. Our coaches are not only experienced, they are incredibly well qualified. What we offer is a communication-heavy style of coaching where we actually talk to you about what's going wrong and right, and if it's wrong, we fix it. We actually give a shit about our athletes. Also, we do things on time, and we make damn good lifters. If you're interested, you can head to calgarybarbell.com for more information. Tip number 7, have fun, because you could do literally anything else. A few years back now, I had a conversation with my sports psychologist that kind of rocked me a bit, and I want to share some of the insight I got from that conversation. I was going through yet another chronic injury, this time my knee. It had been swollen and blown up for probably about a year at this point, and I could not get a handle on the proper regression or patterns or exercises to get this damn thing back on track. Training was a f***ing slog. I told my sports psychologist that I was worried I was falling out of love with powerlifting and I wasn't sure that I could do it anymore. He just replied with, "You don't have to." This concept was such a powerful one to me. Essentially, what would happen if you quit powerlifting? Would your wife leave you? No, probably not. Would your parents stop loving you? Doubtful. Would the people close to you who care and support you decide that all of a sudden you're not worth it anymore? Nah. So if you're feeling this external pressure, you're the one creating it. At the end of the day, you can choose to do this if you want to, but nobody is threatening you, and I can almost guarantee for 99.9% of you, like for myself, nothing real is at risk if you choose not to. So if you do powerlift, choose to do it. Be active in your decision to show up, put the work in, get the rest, eat the food, manage your stress, and enjoy the ride. And if you need to, take a step back. You can take a break. That pile of weights, that barbell, it's not going anywhere. 200 pounds will still be 200 pounds for those Henry Rollins fans out there. And so concludes the Path to Powerlifting series. I want to take a minute here and give a very special thank you to our series sponsor, Inner Strength Products, and to Ryan and Brea Stin. The Stins have been instrumental in my own powerlifting journey, from hosting the very first powerlifting meet I competed in to Ryan coaching me at my first World Championships. Beyond that, they're both incredible lifters who have been pushing themselves in the sport for years and providing a lot of inspiration to me when I've needed it. I can't recommend enough to make sure to check out ISP for all of your powerlifting needs. If this video or this series has helped you in any way, consider sharing it around, consider subscribing to the channel so you can follow along with what we're working on next. That being said, we'll see you there in the next one. Peace.